In this special episode of the Oracle Scroll, I will spend a few moments speaking with Susy Goins, a local healer and channel who helps guide people through some of their most difficult times. She's a very interesting woman to speak with, and I'm happy to have her here with us today. So join us, please. Welcome to the Oracle Scroll. My name is Kevin Walder, and I am your host, and I invite you to join my guests and myself as we discuss all things metaphysical. In today's episode of the Oracle Scroll, we are blessed to have a guest named Susy Goins. Susy has been active in the Northwest Washington area in the spiritual community and doing her work, and we've had a chance to visit with her. I remember the very first time I met Susy, and it was about 7 years ago. And my partner and I were newbies at the time. We were coordinating our very first holistic fair, and Susy was one of the calming voices that we relied on a lot that day, and we really appreciated her help. And I found out years later that it was Susy's very first fair as well. So that was kind of interesting how that all played out. So without further ado, let's welcome Susy Goins.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for joining us.
Well,
So you remember that day?
I do. I remember, it being my first time, and I saw you walking around, and you were just, and I approached you, and I asked if I could hold your heart for a minute, and you stood still for as long as you could. But I held your heart, and it helped calm both of us because, as you said, it was my first time, and we did good. So thank you for that opportunity to jump into that psychic fair pool and have such a wonderful time.
Oh, great. Yeah, we've really enjoyed putting those on. That was a lot of fun. Now,
Yeah,
at that time, you were using cards like I do with tarot and oracles.
yeah,
You,
yeah. I find that the cards are a tangible and accessible way for some clients to come in, but
Mhm.
what I do has evolved. So I'm channeling, and channeling for me doesn't require tools. So I kind of I set up a rug and a couple of chairs, and I'd love to have like some sort of fireplace picture so we could just be in a room. But
Ah,
yeah, it has evolved. It has evolved, and it's fun.
it is. It is. It is amazing when information comes through and helps someone
Yeah.
really, really helps them at that moment. So now, and when I'm doing tarot, I find that I seem to give the same reading over and over again on a given day. It's like
Yeah.
it just keeps coming. Everyone is dealing with the same issue, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm able to kind of turn it back and focus it and say, "Oops, wait a minute. This part of this is for me."
Absolutely.
Do you get that too?
Absolutely. Yeah, I do. I'll find it. What I'm learning now with my channeling is that I can't step totally out of the way. There have been times that the channels have said, convey this information to Susie or to this one, as they say. But I do see that there are common threads during a day, and I've learned to reflect it back on me and say, oh, okay, that's for me. And that is in alignment with my belief that we're all here to learn from each other.
Hmm.
And if I think it would be, I was just had coffee with a friend, and we were just talking about the same thing, that the readings, it's kind of egotistical for me to think that I know everything. And I think that's not true. I'm still a learner. I'm still a student, just as everybody is. And so I make sure I pay attention to the thread, the common thread for the day, and apply it to myself.
Hmm.
So yeah.
And I find, well, I find that the words come to you, the inflection, the everything about your presentation of the information seems to change when you're in that space, that trance-like space where you're connected. Do you find that
Yes.
same thing?
Yeah, yeah. In fact, with some of the beings I channel, like Gaia's got a lovely Celtic lilt to her. She feels like scones and a nice cup of tea.
Hmm.
And Michael, I've channeled Archangel Michael, who is much bigger than me, but he sits up straight and his voice drops. Um, who else comes through? I've got Gran Ebo and Baron Samedi, and they are voodoo stereotypes. Gran Ebo is like that in the old Southern books, the African American woman who sits on the porch and she rocks back and forth, just laughing at the stupid people around her. And she's not scary,
Hmm.
but people let the surface get in the way. But she's actually very kind and loving and very caring.
Right.
And then Baron Samedi is that bone man, the skeleton who goes around and talking, and they both assume a very Cajun accent.
Ah.
Um, and those are more, I guess that's for me a way to differentiate between the energies. You could still sit and feel the energies, tune into the energies, and see that there is some differentiation, a different flavor.
Hmm.
But energy is all the same.
Right.
It's all energy. It's just what's going to be most accessible to the client, what they're going to be willing to accept. So I find that my channels come through in a way that they can accept. So Mother Mary doesn't come through necessarily as one of those Neil Simon Jews.
Hmm.
She does come through and will encourage you to go and take her shopping, but as opposed to Gaia, who's much different. It's very interesting. It's a lot of it. It does. It helps somebody identify who they're talking to.
Right. Right. Now you say channeling is what you do at this point in your career. Who knows where you'll be next time, huh?
Who knows? Who
That's
knows?
we're
I'm looking at other ways. I'd like to talk to dead people and
uh-huh.
not channel them, but to talk to them and get those messages. I do energy work too, energy play.
Okay.
So I have crystals that I will find. I listen to the crystals I carry with me, and sometimes somebody needs to sit with one of the stones I have, or body scans was something I've learned, so we can identify blockages, energetic blockages,
Wow.
and work on helping those. In fact, there's a story that came back to me. I did an event in Snohomish once, and I had talked to a woman about the energy blockages I saw in her kidneys,
Mm.
and she kind of blew me off. It's like, yeah, whatever. But I found out 3 days later that she had a kidney infection.
Oh wow.
But see, it's not my job to diagnose or prescribe.
Right. Right. And that's
But
a
I
fine
felt,
line. You want to be very careful about that legally at
yeah,
least.
yes,
So
yeah.
now, when you channel, I know there are a variety of forms of channeling as well. Do you actually feel the physical presence absorb? I mean, come into your body, or now another channel that I know says that he steps out and someone else steps in, and so it's not quite as, I don't know, dramatic, I guess, if you were going to put it anyway. How's your channel? How does that work for you?
I tune into the energies. I like to say that my consciousness steps aside. When I was first doing it, when I was first exploring the channeling, well, let's see, it was pretty I'm looking at seeing my timeline. So the first time I did it was very short, and I stepped all the way out of the way. Then I got comfortable with it and sat in closer. When I talk about it, I feel that my consciousness is just over to the right.
Hmm.
And so there were times I was told to back off because I was too much in there and throwing in punchlines,
Uh,
and that wasn't appropriate. So now I've gotten to where I can sit further out, but then I don't remember what's said. I
okay.
put all of that responsibility on the channel. And so now I'm being instructed to stay closer, but to sit quietly and behave myself. So,
Okay.
and yeah, so you can see a difference. You can see a difference in the way I hold myself. I do like to stay far away enough so that the channel can have a clear access and be able to convey their meaning without me interfering. So
Right.
it's an ongoing process figuring out the best way to do it. But I see as my growth happens, I'm able to adjust.
Hmm. And without question, that basically that's what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Step into the place, and if now, do you find that how much of your filter goes into the message you pass on to your client? I mean, you're getting sort of bombarded with all this energy from outside, but how much of your filter actually comes into play when you're relaying the information?
I tried now. I don't have to work as hard to stay out of the way. I really do think my filter is not going to be helpful. So when I was feeding in punchlines, or there was once I was consulting with a client and the channel said something to her and I could feel myself over to the right going, what are you telling her? You're telling her to change her life. What if it comes back on me? So that's when I stepped further out. So now if I'm able to sit quietly and listen, I still don't want any of my filters there. I want it to be the information from the guide or whoever's talking to them, because it will
Exactly.
make more sense. I feel if my ego steps in, I'm going to kind of muddy the information, and that's not what we want.
Right. And I always say it when I'm doing tarot that it's not up to me to censor
Yes.
anything that I'm getting, but sometimes, I mean, you can say the same thing in many different ways, some of which are alarming and some of which are soothing. So
Yeah.
pick your, you know, that's about as far as the filter goes.
Yeah,
So
I my guides will come in and speak from a place of love. So Gaia will encourage you instead of saying, "Oh, your kidneys are about to crap out." She'll say things like, "Please drink more water and look to your health."
mhm,
And there is when I'm reading cards, I'm still more conscious of my personal self, so I will ask for help in how to present the information in a kind and loving way because sometimes, yeah, I can be blunt.
mhm,
But in when I am working with a client, I want to make sure they're understanding that this is from a place of love, and rather than have them shut down, I want them to open even more. So yeah, it
right.
depends on what modality I'm using.
Now, that brings up another question. How much of your client's energy influences the availability of the spirit energy?
Oh, I've never thought of that. That's an amazing question, Kevin. Let me think. The clients, okay. There are many clients that I have are open to what we do.
Hmm.
I encourage them to open themselves up to receive the energy. Now, there have been people, and I won't call them clients because they're not necessarily in an event situation. Some people have been known to like plunk themselves down, and I also do past life exploration, and somebody will plunk themselves down. So, giving a demo,
Mm,
and their energy, it's they're clouding their reading from me.
right.
So yeah, so in answer to the question, yeah, occasionally the person's energy will get in the way, and somebody will come in with the distinct intent to test you,
Hmm.
to test me, or to test the reader. And that's when you listen to the guide and say, you can do this, but they're still not going to go with it. So, yeah, it can have an effect, but the clients who get the most effective readings and healings are the ones who are open to it. And
Right.
yeah,
So it does help to have at least a receptive,
yeah,
yeah, a receptive attitude. So
yeah. I explain that to clients too. It's like, feel the energy behind this. Oh, I've got to save all this money, and how restricted and constricted it is, as opposed to love and abundance flow to me easily.
mhm,
I mean, even just with that explanation, you can feel that difference of energy. So that's the same thing. Oh, I've got to fix this thing, as opposed to, okay, let me get the lesson from this physical thing, ailment, and I can learn from it and we can release it. So yeah, energy is absolutely crucial to an effective healing. Yeah.
mhm. And then that links to another question. Oh, how do you go about delivering those hard those hard messages, those less than encouraging messages, the the bad news kind of reading? How do you
Oh
do
golly,
that?
that's right. You were there for when that woman sat with me. I have a hard time with those. There are sometimes I can't see beyond a point.
Hmm.
understanding, however, that free will is in play. If I can't see an outcome, I will explain that to the client. It's like, look, this is about free will and you have your choice in the matter, but this is what I'm seeing. This is a potential outcome. I have listened to a gentleman, what was his name? Was it John Bergman? He's on YouTube and he's a doctor.
Mm.
And he talks about unlimited potential. So I'm incorporating that into my talks with clients and saying, if we don't see something, if somebody comes in saying, oh, this is it, I'm going to die, let's look at the unlimited potential and see the opportunity. So there's a required shift in perspective, as opposed to, I'm poor, I'm awful. Oh, but wait, I have this opportunity to find new income streams, for instance. How I don't have to have this kind of job. What other kind of job can I have? Some people get very caught up in the negativity.
Right.
That's the closest thing there. So making the effort to step beyond that and see the positive, to see the lesson, to see the opportunity in any given situation, that's where the universe goes, oh, okay, you're willing to put in the time and the effort, we'll make it all happen for you.
Right.
Does that make
So
sense?
that does make sense. Perfect sense,
Okay,
actually.
good.
Now I'm hitting on a subject that might be a little uncomfortable, but you've had some opportunities to apply that information in your own life.
Yes.
Is that something you
I'm
want to
not,
talk about?
yeah, I'm not uncomfortable with that at all. Yeah, 5 years ago in March of 2013, I got a cancer diagnosis. It was colon and breast, two different kinds of cancers in three primary sites.
Mm.
So and I had the determination at the outset to change the end of the story. So the backstory on this is my mother died when I was 13 after a 2-year struggle with colon cancer.
Oh my.
And then 10 years later, when I was 23, my oldest sister died after a particularly aggressive breast cancer took her life after 6 months.
Wow.
So I remember her rejecting treatment and that she was gone in 6 months. So having both kinds of cancers, they did the genetic testing and I had no genetic inclination for it. It's like, well, there's something there
Hmm.
because, I'm getting the same cancer. So I determined at the outset that I had to change the end of that story. So with my mother, I found out when I was sick that my family kept my youngest sister and I in the dark the whole time.
Mm.
They wanted to protect us. Now, had my prognosis been a different one, I had a very positive prognosis, but if it had been different, I honestly don't know how I would have handled it with my kids. I don't think, though, I would have denied them the opportunity to be with me. And
Right.
so during the process I went through, the 18 months of chemo and radiation and surgery and chemo and surgery and radiation, my family was with me the whole time and we kept them up on it.
Hmm.
So they would cheer me on during these things. Oh, look, I feel like eating today. And they would all go, yay, and all that. And oh boy, I'm not feeling so great today. Well, that's okay. And friends would come over and support me. I think, how old was Sylvia? Sylvia was probably 8 at the time, and she would snuggle in bed with me. Once she was very concerned that she would catch it, I said, no, no,
Hmm.
you're not going to catch this from me and stuff like that. So there was a lot of support, and that was the opportunity. And the lesson for me was to ask for the help. There was an incredible outpouring of love and support, not just the internet, people saying, here are your thoughts and prayers, but a friend of mine we set up a GoFundMe to help with that first year of expenses.
Hmm.
And a friend of mine set up, it was lots of helping hands where people would sign up for times to drive me or to give us food or whatever. And it was an opportunity also for my husband to explore his music.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that was a big opportunity for me. And I continue to see it as an opportunity because there was that woman who came to me during the last fair we were at, and
Right.
she had cancer. So I was totally able to commiserate with her, to empathize with her, and to love and support her in a way that, I turned off the timer. I was like, I don't want your money for this. I wanted to help you. And And I did tell Todd came in and checked in on me later on because that was a hard one.
Hmm.
Because that was one of those moments of I couldn't see beyond her 12-month prognosis.
Wow.
And that was hard for me. And I don't like not being able to pull the positive
Right.
and the opportunity out of it. And then I've since learned about other ways to draw in that unlimited potential. So I found out about that. So
Good.
if I'm able to convey that to somebody, I can.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to slip into the pit of despair, and I don't want to.
Isn't it though? And
Oh,
you're right about that. We've learned that lesson ourselves, and sometimes being able to ask is all that's necessary to demonstrate
yeah.
for us just the pool that we have, the people that
Yeah.
are around us that are there and willing to help, and it's amazing the energy that you can draw from that.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes people don't know how to help.
yes,
And that's been another common thread in readings I've given. It's like, we're taught to be self sufficient, that asking for help for weak. And it's like, no, it's building a community,
right.
because I'm the first one to say, you having a hard time? I'm always good for a lasagna, you know, but to
So
be able to pay it back or pay it forward or pay it around, however, that's what's building community and helping people out. And
mhm.
that's part of what I feel like I do is being able to help folks. So I make an effort at events I'm at to get to know a couple of vendors at least.
Right,
So
right.
so we can connect.
And sometimes, like you mentioned recently, sometimes that's the reason you're there.
Yeah.
And we've noticed that with events that we've done is sometimes there's really nothing spectacular, nothing outstanding. You didn't do all that well, but
Yeah.
there was a reason for you to be there. And so then you have
Yeah.
to kind of step back and, okay, why was that? Oh, it was that few moments I spent with so and so, or that
Yes.
that connection, or I introduced myself to someone that I've known for years, known their work for years, but never had a chance to shake their hand. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's an important
Yeah.
realization. So
It's that shift in perspective, that stepping towards the positive that is going to help heal a lot of the rifts that are going on right now.
yes, and we have
So,
those too, and in
oh,
our community as well, and that's unfortunate, but
yeah.
it is, as a friend of mine pointed out years ago, we are just like every other community. Just because we have spiritual in front of it doesn't mean we get to escape the fate of, we've got all the same problems, we've got all the same personality conflicts, all the same things that any other community has. So
Yeah.
we just have to learn how we're going to deal with it, how best we're going to deal with it. And as she put it,
It,
she said the only difference between us and some of the other communities is some of us know what's wrong with us. And so
yeah. And it's pulling that metaphysical card out. It's all about lessons. What's the lesson from it?
hmm and
You
that's
know.
that's important.
But then to act on it, because it's easy
Yes.
to go, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm better. It's like, no, you're not. You're still a human. And
Yes.
so it's, yeah, yeah.
We still have
Okay,
all those things. Now,
yeah. You still
who
have
was
to
the
be an adult.
who was the first entity that came through for you? I mean, how did this channeling start? Was it during your recovery, or was it already
Well,
in progress?
it was in progress then. I was in a circle in a study group, and somebody was talking, and then something came through and started talking to her anxiety. I had been doing Reiki. I've been doing Reiki for about 10, 12 years now. And
Hmm.
with the Reiki being open to energies, I was able to go and explore other realms. And let's see, there was a kind of an outside group where I was working with two other women, and we started playing with that stuff. So I was channeling because of their particular preferences. I was doing general energy and then intergalactic and interdimensional energies.
Hmm.
So those were the first ones. I've got a client who works almost exclusively with multidimensionals. And then going on and working with another mentor, I started working with Mother Mary and other bodhisattvas and ascended masters. And I've kind of gone off and played and started talking with other beings. I'm one of those where I've got I've got a being in place, as sort of a bouncer
Okay.
who, like I tell new clients, it's like, Mama, don't channel crazy. I'm not going to tell you to drink the Kool-Aid or sign over your assets or wait for the comet. I'm talking to you with beings who are from light and who are from love. And it's been interesting. Some of the beings coming through,
Hmm.
we will tune in to see who wants to come through and talk to them. So one client may get Mother Mary, one may get Gaia. Chiron came through.
Hmm.
So I know we were both sitting there going, really? Okay. Um, and so it's interesting to see the different energies come through. True, it's all from source.
Hmm.
And these are different aspects that'll work with them. It's kind of fun. It's not like I'm going to be on a roller coaster and see who's coming through. I'll know who's coming through at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and when the channeling happens, I encourage people to have a conversation, because it's easy for a being to sit there and pontificate,
Right.
but they don't want that. That's what I've talked with them about. It's like, ask them questions, and it's okay to ask questions and to have a conversation.
Right.
So that puts people in a different space.
Exactly. And that is, I agree with you wholeheartedly there. I knew a channel who that's basically, it just launched into a monologue that never stopped. And to me,
Yeah,
that was, I mean, it's effective to a point, but after a while, you tune out.
yeah, yeah. Lectures don't work. My daughter had a teacher who lectured, and she knew that wasn't going to help her. And so the beings are definitely there to talk and interact. That's the point.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, and now you're doing your work. I know you do some work through Mahjong's.
Yes.
Do you have other outlets for your?
Well, I do Wednesdays at Mahjong Herbals, and that's usually from 1 to 6. Then when she has special events, I'm frequently a reader there.
Hmm.
Um, then I'm doing the first Sundays in Edmonds at the gym and the Maplewood Gym and Mineral place, and
Okay.
those are Blue Moon Spirit. Those are the first Sundays. I enjoy those quite a bit. I was so pleased to see you and Todd there that month. And then I'm also working, I got to make sure I get the name right, at the Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Fairs that
Hmm.
are run by Lorelei Shamayo.
Okay.
The next time, let's see. So that's the last Saturday of the month at Uplift Yourself in Redmond. The next event for that, the last one for the year, is in October. And she's working on new dates for that. And then I have 2 Facebook pages, one under the name of Sacred Weavings, but the
Hmm.
one that I'm more that I have my business cards under is Blue Flame Healing. And you
Okay.
can find those on Facebook. And lately I haven't been channeling information onto it, but I will on occasion. Well, I should do it more because that's the way you do it. But um, I'll channel information onto there and give general messages.
Okay.
And
So, when is your book coming out?
book,
Yeah.
you're I don't know. What book is that?
Well, it sounds like you've got one. You just need to get it written.
Okay.
Okay. that's what
Okay.
that's what everybody
That's
says.
interesting.
So, no, it's
No,
you have a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge. And you know what? We do this to ourselves all the time. I know I do it. We don't appreciate the power of what we have in our hand, and we don't appreciate what it could mean to someone else. And sometimes
yeah.
we hold ourselves back. So now, yeah, you've had your formal invitation to
Thank
write your book.
Honestly, Kevin, that's not the first time. I used to write for Natural Family Online doing homeopath articles about homeopathy.
Hmm.
And she said, "When are you going to do a book?" It's like, she said, "No, it's your perspective." And then my doctor actually said, "So I expect a book out of your cancer experience." It's like, dude, I don't remember half of what happened, from the stress of it. But now you're saying it's a third time, must be true. Now I
It's
got to
got
figure
to
out
be.
what.
And you know what? What you just said there to your doctor about you don't remember half of it, but your
Yeah.
family does.
Okay.
Your family remembers every moment of it, I can almost assure you. And that is, you what your experience and their experience, and that's the whole story, and that's what needs to be told.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, who? Me? No.
That's true. I was thinking about, what do I know about Susie? I know when you walk in a room and you see her across the room, you go, "Oh, damn." she
What does
she's
that
she's a
mean?
character.
Well, you're never bored. That's
No,
what I
that's
told
true.
my
You're never
husband.
bored. You always.
I before he was my husband, he said, "What would it be like to date you?" And I said, "You won't ever be bored." And 32 years later, we are not bored.
That's good. That's good. And he has been a total support. I've admired the way he looks after you, really, and making sure
Yeah,
you
he
get where you
really
need to be. And
he schleps the stuff with me if he can, and when he can't, that's okay. And of course, I love and support him too. He's directing a show for Marysville Red Curtain Theater.
oh,
And
okay,
yeah, he was in the Klingon Macbeth, and it's not a question of allowing him to do that, but encouraging to do the theater, which when the music didn't happen the way he wanted to, it's like, dude, go do theater, and he is. And so yeah, that's why we're, 32 years later. That's cool.
that's great. That's great. Congratulations on that too, by the way. So, so now if you were to step back and look into your crystal ball, which I know you must have one at least, what do you see? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you see your next evolution, your next metamorphosis?
Oh, well, I would like to be doing um, more events, and actually having more clients, to be honest, and getting the word out in other ways. There are times when I go off in my little scenarios and I'm on some sort of talk show. So you've been the stepping stone to help make that manifest. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh, Learning more stuff. There's just so many gifts out there that we all possess, and so as I pick up more, I'll be able to convey that information to other folks, and not necessarily mentor, but to share the fun. It's People get so bogged down in the serious and then
Mm.
the negative that, looking at it with lightness, I'm really good at seeing that. I haven't looked to see where I would be in 5 years. I just see me as being
Hmm.
calm and relaxed about stuff and going, yeah, this is what we do. And helping people. As far as how widespread it is, I don't know. I haven't looked at that yet.
Okay.
Just trying to get down to Kent is big enough for me right now. You know,
So yeah, I mean, I always have a problem with that too. I don't do that future vision all that well, but just
yeah, I mean,
accepting as things come along.
yeah, I enjoy that. I want to expand what I'm able to do and to help share it with more people. Um, Golly, we were just talking about this morning too. I don't see myself in, say, a stadium with 20,000 people or anything like that, which would just, no, I don't think that. I think I work better with smaller groups and just helping to help people change their own lives to shift their perspectives as I grow and learn.
Hmm. But
That
that
sounds.
vision, though, that vision of the stadium did come to you, so we can't discount that as a possibility.
Okay. Okay. I'd have to have like people and assistants and stuff. I don't know.
Well, that's
I don't
okay.
know. Yeah, that's okay. I'll take friends along for the ride, so you and Todd are invited
There you go.
anytime.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, well, Susie, what else do we need to know about you? What is it that is most important that you want everyone to know?
Um, to not give, I don't give up hope.
Mm.
Okay, so
You're a
yeah,
great example for that. Yes.
it's, yeah, just don't give up hope, to keep pushing forward, not pushing, but to keep moving forward. Um, I'm still dealing with some of the side effects of what my cancer experience was. Some of them are permanent, and some of them I'm hell bent on not having be permanent.
Right.
Um, but to keep, that's what I do, is I keep pushing forward. Some folks have said my humor was a defense. It's like, it's an energy shifter.
Hmm.
If you can make that connection. I like to make these connections in odd ways, and people will stop and go, okay. And it's valid and it's interesting. So, I will not let go of my humor, and I will be silly and have fun. And it's up to another person to decide if it's valid or frivolous. It's not my problem.
Right.
So
Right.
I that's been a big deal for me, is to recognize what I can fix and what I can't. But I
Oh,
want to continue. Yeah.
yeah.
I can't fix somebody else's problem. I can sit there and talk to them. Those are the difficult clients who go, yeah, but it's like,
Mhm.
okay, fine. You take what you can. And so I'm going to continue to learn what interests me and will help me move forward. And if other people come along for the ride and for the fun, that's great.
Right.
And if they choose not to, that's fine too.
As you said earlier, it's all their free will. So
Yeah.
they have the option, and all you can do is make the offer.
Yeah. I can, oh, boy, sometimes it's hard being an example, but that's what I find myself being. It's
Yeah.
like, am I an example or a terrible warning? I don't know.
Oh, I think you're an example. I think you've been a fine example, actually, for
Yeah.
so many aspects of what we do. And your work is, I mean, you've built something that is worth sustaining. So
Thank
that's
you.
what we see from the outside, at least. So hopefully
Oh,
you feel it
good.
too.
I do. I want to keep doing it, and I am continuing to get support from other things, from other arenas, and that makes me happy, because this is something that everyone can do. And I hear a lot of people say, no, no, I can't. It's like, yeah, let's try. And it may not be the exact modality for them, but to opening up to the love and to finding the joy in even dark times, it's what keeps us moving forward.
Yes, definitely. Well, Susie, I think that may be all that we have time for. We've pretty much covered a lot of material, so I appreciate you sharing your experience with us.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I really have enjoyed this opportunity to talk. This is good. This is cool.
Good, good.
Yeah,
Well, let's hope we can do it again, so we can,
I would
do
love that.
we can do a follow up. A year from now, we'll revisit the situation, see where you are, see if you've got that stadium booked yet.
Yeah, yeah. We'll meet at the top of the Empire State Building. Yeah.
And this brings us to the conclusion of episode 26 of the Oracle Scroll. The Oracle Scroll is available on many of your favorite platforms, and we ask that you subscribe today. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and sometimes on Facebook as well. You can become a patron of the Oracle Scroll and earn some attractive bonuses for yourself. Just visit our Patreon page at Patreon, patreon.com/Kevin Walder, and a direct link to that location will be included in the episode notes accompanying this audio presentation. Please send any comments, suggestions, requests, anything at all to theoraclescroll@gmail.com. And most importantly, be sure to share your experience with your friends, relatives, anyone at all who might enjoy what we do here at the Oracle Scroll. And as usual, links to all contact options are listed in the episode notes accompanying this audio presentation. We thank you for joining us for episode 26 and look forward to having you join us for our next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. Find us on Facebook at the Oracle Scroll. If you wish to send comments, suggestions, or requests, please address them to theoraclescroll@gmail.com.